Welcome to Lead Desk. My name is Rob Edwards, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at creating contact lists with a particular emphasis on customer service. In customer service, we use our contact list to help us recognize customers who contact us. And we might even have different contact lists for different levels of service. We might have some subscriber customers that we want to give particular priority over our more general customers, for example. We're also going to give some thought to outbound calling as well, because we're still going to want to be able to do that. And finally, we need to have a think about how we handle duplicates in a customer service environment. Let's get straight into the application and have a go at creating a contact list. So in the application, we're going to go to the contact lists page, and we're going to make sure that we're on the contact lists sub-page as well. Here we can see all of the contact lists we've already created on this environment, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. Click the Create button. The first thing we have to decide is whether we're going to be creating a new contact list here or adding contacts to an existing list. We're creating a new one today, so I'm going to leave this setting as it is. Next, we need to give this list a name. Usually a good idea to give this a name that will actually remind us 3 months from now what the purpose of this contact list was for. So I'm going to type in Omni contact list for onboarding, because that's what this list is for. After giving it a name, we would probably want to give a description for this contact list, which we put into the legend field. And we would probably, if we're using offices, want to select the correct office. And if we're using sponsors, select the correct sponsor. We can also use the field contact list group to create collections of contact lists that are associated with each other. I'm not really going to worry about any of those things today. Let's move straight on to the bottom section of the calling list details here, which are factors for outbound calling. Again, this might be something you want to think about. In a customer service environment, there will be times we want to be able to call our contacts, perhaps following up on something we spoke to them about earlier, giving them some information we said we'd find for them, for example. In that case, we want to make sure that our default call attempts is fairly large, because if we call this customer 3 or 4 times, we don't want to run out of call attempts that early. Likewise, we want to have our contact list be viable for quite some time into the future. If we're expecting our customer to come back to us on a regular basis over the next 5-10 years, then maybe the expiry date needs to be that far into the future. These settings are ones which you need to think about for yourself and what your environment is going to be for. I'm going to set my default call attempts to 10, and I'm going to choose an expiry date which is a few years into the future. So June 2027 for this list. And likewise, the calling time here lets us define what times of days we can make outbound calls to these numbers for this contact list. In particular countries, this is hugely important, and you might want to say, okay, well, I can only call between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock, for example. But again, for customer service, it's a slightly different environment, because these are going to be people who presumably are going to be wanting calls from us because we are calling back with something that they need to know. Next, we need to import our contact list. Now, our contact list can be in CSV format or Excel format with a maximum size of 10 megabytes. If you haven't already got a contact list of your customers, we can download the template from Lead Desk that we're expecting our contact lists to follow. But if you've already got an established customer database, as you probably have, that's fine too. We can just choose our existing file from one of our drives, and when we actually do that, we'll get an opportunity, if the fields don't match exactly what Lead Desk is expecting, we'll get an opportunity to connect those two. We'll have a look at that when we get to it. For today, I'm just going to choose a file that I already have on my PC. And I have a contact list called Contact List for Onboarding. Let's scroll down, see what other settings we have. In the optional settings, we have controls here for what to do about automatic phone number formatting and automatic name formatting. In an outbound calling environment, maybe these aren't so important, but for an inbound, for a customer service environment, having our numbers in the same format all the time will really help us match phone numbers when people call in. So I would strongly recommend in a customer service environment, we leave the to disable automatic phone number formatting and disable automatic contact name formatting unticked, because I want those to be in a format that is predictable and recognizable and easy to match when a contact does call us. Likewise, for a customer service environment, it matters not at all what order our contact list is going to be in. So tick it or don't tick it for the keep list in order. It doesn't really matter for customer service. In particular, don't tick create new project for the new list, because by default that is going to create an outbound project, and we want to create an inbound project for this contact list. Finally, we need to think about filtering, both in terms of filtering out duplicates and what about blacklists. Again, this is quite a different philosophy for when we talk about outbound numbers. In the case of inbound, we really do want to have every customer on our database so that we know about them. Even if we've blacklisted them for calling them, we'd still like to be able to recognize them if they call us. So you might want to think about whether you want to remove numbers from your list if they're found on a blacklist or not. I'm actually going to untick it for my example here, but what I do want is to make sure that it recognizes and filters out any duplicates I might have on my contact list. Because what we don't want in a customer service environment is to have half of our conversations with this customer attached to one contact and the other half of our conversations with this customer attached to a different version of this contact. So it's quite important that we actually expunge as many duplicates as we possibly can from the system so that when that contact calls, we know for sure it's this version of the contact that we're going to attach any new activity to. In an environment like Omni, it's quite important that we do want to add contacts that don't have a phone number. Perhaps the only thing we know about the contact is that we have got the email address that they register with. Well, if they're going to be emailing us, we still want to be able to recognize them, even if they don't have a phone number. So I am going to keep this one ticked for a customer service environment. When I'm happy with all those settings, I'm going to click the Create button. And in this case, it is going to recognize that the format I'm uploading, the Excel file that I've got, isn't in quite the same format as the lead desk default fields. So I'm just going to match what we have in our Excel file with what lead desk is expecting. This is a very simple task. The family name matches with the last name. Forename matches with first name. The phone number that I have for this contact goes into the phone number there, and the location in this case matches with our city. Once we've done all that, scroll to the bottom and click Create Contact List. So here we go. It's uploading my contact list. There are no contacts without phone numbers, none uploaded because they match the blacklist, no duplicates. So it's added the 8 contacts I had in this contact list. Not the biggest contact list you're ever likely to upload. I imagine your contact list will be much larger than this. When all that's done, I can hide this extra contact list creation table, and the Omni contact list for onboarding will appear amongst my other contact lists. Omni contact list for onboarding, there we go. So in this video, we've had a look at creating a contact list. We've had to think about what the implications are for contact lists for a customer service environment, but we've also had to think about outbound calling as well. And we've talked about how we're going to manage our duplicates within our contact lists. I hope that was useful.